Let's talk about President Trump's 25% tariffs on autos and auto parts that are not produced in the US effective April 2nd, and what it means for Mercedes-Benz, BMW and Porsche and other European automakers. President Trump's sweeping 25% tariffs on imported cars is set to take effect on April 2nd, and it's sending shockwaves throughout the auto industry.
Now I want you to imagine that if you had that same demand, you're going to put a 25% tariff on 7.38 million vehicles. Clearly that is not going to happen. What's going to happen once these tariffs go into effect is the automakers will respond in a couple of ways. One, they're going to slow down production in foreign plants for vehicles that are imported here to the United States. They're going to also probably have to raise prices and cut incentives. That'll probably happen fairly quickly. And the final decision they'll have to make is how much capacity do they have to bring production back into the United States. The president says, well, there's some places that only have 60% capacity.
Especially for luxury brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Porsche. Today, we'll break down how this policy will impact prices, supply chains and your next car purchase. Let's dive in. On March 26th, President Trump signed an executive order imposing a 25% tariff on all foreign-made cars and auto parts, calling it a move to boost US manufacturing. The White House estimates it will generate $100 billion annually, but critics warn it will hit consumers hard, especially buyers of European luxury brands. About 45% of light vehicles sold in the US are imported, per S&P Global Mobility. Mercedes-Benz produces a significant number of models in Germany, including many of its sedans such as the S-Class and the E-Class, as well as certain SUVs and high-performance variants. In the US, Mercedes-Benz operates a major manufacturing facility in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where it builds popular SUVs like the GLE, the GLS, and some variants of the GLE Coupe. This manufacturing split means that vehicles assembled in Germany will be subject to the proposed 25% import tariffs, potentially driving up the sticker price for American consumers. On the other hand, models built in the US plant would be exempt from this added cost, thereby creating a more favorable pricing point for those domestically produced cars compared to their German-built counterparts. Porsche, on the other hand, nearly 100% of its lineup, including the iconic 911, are shipped straight from Germany. If the tariff hits, all these imports face a 25% tax. 3.6 million cars were built in Canada and Mexico in 2024, including popular models like the Chevrolet Silverado, Ram 1500 and Ford Mach-E. Another 3.7 million cars were built from other countries, primarily Japan, Korea and European Union. Trump's on and off again tariff threats on Canada and Mexico could drive a massive increase in US automakers' production costs. What this means is that the prolonged tariffs on trade with Canada and Mexico, plus additional levies on steel and aluminum imports, would deliver a multi-billion-dollar hit to the US automakers, according to credit analysts at S&P Global Ratings. And the US stock market just doesn't like tariffs and what's happening. Look at the stock market today. Financial markets are reacting very negative. Shares of BMW, Porsche and Mercedes-Benz dropped sharply after the announcement. Analysts predict a price hike of about $3,000 to $12,000 per vehicle, with luxury models absorbing the steepest increases. Germany, home to these iconic brands, is pushing back. Economy Minister Robert Habeck called the tariffs a fatal signal for global trade, while industry groups warned of supply chain chaos.
What's going to happen once these tariffs go into effect is the automakers will respond in a couple of ways. One, they're going to slow down production in foreign plants for vehicles that are imported here to the United States. They're going to also probably have to raise prices and cut incentives. That'll probably happen fairly quickly. And the final decision they'll have to make is how much capacity do they have to bring production back into the United States. The president says, well, there's some places that only have 60% capacity. It's not as simple as just flipping a switch. There's tooling, there's also making sure that the plant and the supply chain can adjust and bring production from a particular plant overseas back here.
Why over 40% of Mercedes-Benz and BMW sold in the US are imported straight from Germany. It even gets worse for other German makers, such as Porsche, who import nearly 100% of all the models, including the beloved 911. So suffice it to say that the cost of these cars will jump significant. So if these tariff hits, all these imports face a 25% tax. Get it right. A tariff is actually a tax on the importing.
But there's no doubt this is going to be a huge hit for the auto industry. One executive in the industry texted me earlier and he said, this is going to drive the auto industry, not the overall economy, strictly the auto industry, into a recession.
Here's a twist. Automakers won't just raise prices and call it a day. They've got three options. One, shift production to the US factories to dodge the tariffs. Number two, absorb the cost in the short term to keep customers happy. Number three, rethink supply chains, but that takes years to do. Dealers are bracing for sticker shocks. BMW plans to absorb costs in the short term, but in the long term, price hikes are just inevitable. So what's next? The EU vows retaliation, and automakers may accelerate US production, but that takes years because it's manufacturing. For now, if you're eyeing a new Mercedes-Benz, BMW, or Porsche, expect thinner wallets and fewer options. If you want to get the car between now and the second, you have about 2 days. History shows that when automakers face higher costs, they usually pass these costs along to the customers. That means sticker prices for German cars, BMW, Mercedes will be higher and they will be passed on to customers like you and I. For buyers, the short-term pain looks like this: higher showroom prices overnight, fewer imported models as brands cut losses, and a rush to US-built alternatives. On the other hand, we expect more US jobs if other iconic brands like Porsche ship some of the US productions here in the US. But again, that takes years. On the other hand, the EU will retaliate for sure, and this will hurt American exports. So what does the 25% auto tariff mean for car prices and consumers? Most analysts believe that the price estimates will be anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000. Some of them believe anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. Now, for instance, a base BMW 330i starts from around $45,000. This is expected to jump to about $52,000. A Mercedes C-Class, expect a slight jump of about $3,000. It's not just cars which will go up in price. Parts will cost more too, because maintenance costs will begin to rise, because these parts, if not made in the US, they expect to get a 25% tariff. In addition, expect high insurance premiums, because with increased car values and repair costs, insurers may adjust premiums accordingly. So you're not just paying for more at the dealership, you're also going to be paying more everywhere else, including car insurance. Also expect we have availability crunches in terms of finding these cars, because some models might be delayed or hard to find as automakers rework their logistics, right? So you're not just paying more at the dealership, stocks will be limited for some of these cars, especially the S-Class or the high-end cars like the Maybach. So what's the strategic play for most manufacturers? BMW has said they'll hold current prices, which means on certain models like the 3 Series up until May. I expect the same from Mercedes-Benz. So once these tariffs hit for about a month, all these prices will jump for at least 25%. And again, remember, a tariff is simply a tax, which is essentially passed on to consumers like you and I. So bottom line, I get the logic of Trump trying to get the automakers to switch production to the US, but you don't just unilaterally move production lines overnight. It's not going to happen. And I think what's going to happen is all these other automakers who export cars to Europe will face significant tariffs as well. I expect, case in point, Tesla makes all the cars in the US. Some are made in Germany and also in China. So you can imagine all the imports going to Germany will face the reciprocal 25% tax. So could these companies just build more cars in the US? It's hard to tell, because it takes years and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, to shift entire production lines or manufacturing lines from one country to another. So if you're planning to buy a new car, either a European brand or luxury car, this is not just business as usual. Prices are rising, supply chains will start to cause issues, and who's to say how this plays out from now? We can come to next week and the tariffs will be reversed, but it's hard to tell. For now, we just keep watching and leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the tariffs and if this is going to affect your bottom line. Till next time, stay positive. Peace.